that what makes this popular culture tick, what makes it work, what makes it beautiful, what makes it compelling, are all premised on the exclusion of racism from the public world that's there.
Rock Against Racism built up from small concerts that would pair one punk group with one reggae group to the huge event at Victoria Park in Hackney, at which The Clash topped the bill.
That really, for me, was the first time that I felt really comfortable about being black and Asian and British at the same time in one space.
The Specials brought it all together. Instead of black and white bands on the same bill, there were black and white musicians in the same band. An informal collective of young musicians, keener on dancing than marching, but just as eager to reject a racist future.
Here you had this whole generation of kids, black and white kids, who'd grown up side by side in schools and listening to each other's music. And I mean, two-tone, as far as I'm concerned, was an experiment waiting to happen.
Instead of awkward attempts to mix rock and reggae, there was about to be a new sound. The energy of punk brilliantly fused with reggae's faster ancestor, ska.
I'm going out tonight. I don't know if I'll be alright. Everyone wants to hurt me. Oh, baby, danger in the city.
The Specials and Two-Tone were born in Coventry, because that's where Jerry Dammers lived, harbouring a vision.
They emphasise the offbeat like that. Then started slowing down, you got sort of reggae. Everyone wants you to behave in the way they expect you to behave, but we just do what we want, We're not going to live out other people's fantasies.
Gangsters was the first Two-Tone single, launching a new look. A mix and match of clothes once worn by skinheads, mods and rude boys. And with it, a new ska punk sound.
It wasn't until the Specials that you actually had a black and white band taking that basic ska sound and giving it a harder rock edge and just making the lyrics all about the way we were living and stuff. It just seemed absolutely right, and it really took off very, very fast.
I felt that Coventry was some kind of multicultural haven, perhaps, I've never really been there before, but to me, I felt like, oh, maybe Coventry's the place where black and white do unite, where all this cool music is coming from.
You kind of thought, hang on a second, okay, it's black and white suddenly. It is black kids, white kids. It is the first time, I think, probably that I'd seen that.
Two-Tone had a strong graphic image. Black and white checks, bold, clear typography, and the figure called Walt Jabsco, drawn by Jerry Dammers as the archetypal rude boy.
I remember going out and buying a black and white suit and getting dressed, and putting on it was a black and white skirt and jacket, and I had a white shirt on and a really thin black tie, and I had white tights on and black shoes and a pork pie hat. And I remember going and just thinking, wow.
That's it. You put your pork pie hat on and you were there. You were part of the gang, and of course the mohair suits and that,
It was the figure of the rude boy that made it attractive, the figure of the rude boy, and not the figure of the Rasta, not the figure of the Rastafari. In some way, they were trying to get away from that. I think it was the figure of the rude boy that had a different glamour, a different cool, a different style, all of that, which made it very much more attractive to a larger, and largely working class white British audience.
Buster, he sold the heat with a rock steady beat.
The Hope and Anchor, possibly the most important place we came to as youngsters, because it was the best live music venue in the area that we were living in, and where I first saw the Specials. I remember seeing an article about the Specials in Melody Maker and being really shocked immediately by how similar they looked in dress to the way we were dressing at that time, which was unusual, to be wearing suits and hats and all that. And then secondly, when I was reading the article, they seemed to be doing exactly the same kind of music that we were doing, and we felt we were completely in our own world down here, because this was literally the epicenter of me and about 15 people who had started our own, completely own thing, which involved playing ska and reggae and R&B, 60s R&B and all that. And then suddenly an advertisement appeared here in one of the posters that the Specials were performing. And it really was an epiphanal moment. And I remember when the Specials arrived, we were all sort of, it was all a little bit, who are you, mate, and all that. And then the jukebox was the kind of, the catalyst for our first conversation. And yeah, it really is a very clear memory, of meeting them and just realising something was suddenly going on. And then they performed downstairs, probably one of the best gigs I ever saw, certainly one of the most important for me and for the rest of the band, and completely informed us in terms of performance pretty much from there onwards. It was like Neville letting off his gun, people punching holes in the ceiling, and that energy that they had. It's funny, it's like a bit like going back to primary school. You can't actually imagine how popular music concerts could take place in such a small space. But this is where it really happened, yeah. That'd be the drummer and the drum kit there. That'd be about, that's about there, actually. Got 6 other people. It's all like that, basically. Oi! And after the show, I got talking to Jerry, who came back and stayed at my mum's flat. And it was there that he announced that he was going to start a record label called Two Tone.
They asked you if you're all right. You say yes.
The Selector had been the title of an instrumental B-side for the Specials' first single. Now a band called The Selector was quickly put together, with Pauline Black as singer.
The Specials offered us a gig, I think, at the F Club in Leeds, and we turned up and Elvis Costello was there because he was going to mix their first album. And I remember being terribly impressed by that until he trod on my foot at the bar, and I thought, and didn't apologise. And yeah, it was good.
Next to release a single on Two Tone were The Beat from Birmingham.
It was all needed, all that music was needed. It was just like, how do you get it out? Because if you go to London, no one's going to want to know. So it was lucky because we got made part of the fashion. When we were put out on Two Tone, we went straight in at number 6 in the charts, and it stuck there for Christmas. And all of a sudden, everybody wanted to be your best friend. Every single record company wanted to sign you because anything that was on Two Tone was the hottest thing.
One edition of Top of the Pops in 1979 featured 3 different two-tone bands.
I think a real political importance was in them as appearing on the television. You couldn't check out their songs and really not understand what was going on.
I walk in a bar and immediately I sense danger. You look at me, girl, as if I was some kind of a total stranger. Where did you get that blank expression on your face?
It really felt like they were writing very, very honest songs about their lives, rather than just talking about fantasy, which a lot of pop groups do, or just relationships. They wrote about the reality of relationships, about going to a nightclub and walking home bored, not having pulled, drunk, skin all the way home at the end of the night, whatever. They talked about the way your lives were.